Hi everyone! Welcome! Welcome to Digital Canvas 2022. I am thrilled you are all here. Today I thought I would do a fun little orientation and just talk a little bit about the possibilities when it comes to Procreate. I'm going to share some examples of things that I've created and talk a little bit about the workflow and creative process, because there is a lot of different ways you can approach using Procreate and a couple of the other apps that I am going to be sharing with you during this program. I'm really excited. Many of you have been here. Probably, how many of you took Digital Canvas, the very first Digital Canvas class? That was, I think, I started talking about it at the end of 2012 because that's when I got my iPad. And I think the class started after the new year in 2013. So almost 10 years ago. That is so crazy. And if you're here and you took Digital Canvas, I'm going to actually show one of my very first Procreate files, because one of the things that you'll notice that if you have Procreate, and no matter what version you upgrade to, if you haven't deleted any of your files in there, all of your files that you've ever created in Procreate will still be inside Procreate. I have had different iterations of this course throughout the years. I would say I teach this kind of signature course and update it maybe this is the fourth like big Digital Canvas course. I've taught Digital Canvas 2, and then I did Digital Canvas 3, and then I wanted to update and do the next Digital Canvas. Actually, I think I started talking about doing it in like 2020, but then we all know what happened in 2020. So I kind of pivoted, and I've taught kind of smaller kind of spotlight courses on different aspects of using Procreate, like using it for pattern and using it to create fabric. So I have a couple of other courses, Procreate Pattern, that I've done. I've ran a couple of times, and also Sketch Pattern Print, which is my course that's all about taking your sketches and turning them into patterns and then printing them on Spoonflower. I think I taught that for the first time in 2019, maybe 2018. I can't remember. So I have been an avid user of Procreate, and I think I go through seasons. So how many of you, if you could put, first of all, your experience with Procreate. So if I had a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being you're pretty proficient in it, and you've created a lot of different things, and 1 being you're totally new. If you could put your number in the chat from 1 to 5, that would be awesome. I use it in a certain way where I actually don't use all the features. So Procreate, if you look at their feed on Instagram, you'll notice that it is definitely Illustrator heavy, where it's a lot of people designing like really detailed illustrations, and that's not how I use Procreate. And I think there's a place for everything. There's people who use Procreate for just lettering. There are people who use Procreate for creating like motion graphics for movies. There are people who use it for architectural sketching, and so there are some really amazing Procreate artists out there who have taken their traditional practice in art and kind of translated it into this digital form. And so in this course, I really focus on mixed media and what we do in our world and how it translates into Procreate, because you can actually get some really cool mixed media looking pieces by doing a few different things, like digital collage. You could create brushes that have lots of texture. So we're gonna kind of bounce back and forth every week. I want to provide a fun mixed media jumpstart every week, where you are totally like you could do the painting if you want to, or you don't have to. You could purely just work in Procreate. But I really want to show you the possibilities of different ways that you can approach how to incorporate it into your creative practice. So we have a lot of twos. Vicky is 8, so I'm assuming you are you have lots of experience using Procreate, Vicky. Mary says 5. Yes, Mary has done a lot of really awesome patterns. And you did, Mary, you also designed your journal in it, right? Your book? Parts of it, I think. I can't remember. I think so. Vicky says, oh, good. Thank you for sharing, Vicky. I was just going to ask what you did. She said, I mostly do digital collage, stamps, and mixed media. Awesome. And Elaine and Jessica said 4. Yes. Hey, Sherry. Sherry, yes. And so Elaine paints some beautiful florals and some really awesome, really pretty mixed media florals. And so I'm going to share kind of the variety of work that I've done, because depending on how you use Procreate, your artwork can look completely digital, or it can look like you actually painted it on a canvas, depending on the way you use it. But I've used it from everything. Many of you who've been in many of my digital classes or my Procreate classes, I have used it to create color palettes, to take notes, and I'm going to share some of those examples to design my stencils and stamps. So actually physical products, to create graphics. If you were on the digitalCANVAS course information page, some of the graphics on there where the testimonials are, those were all done in Procreate. So you can really use it for all kinds of things. I've created Instagram stories using Procreate. And it's just such a great tool to kind of to incorporate, because on the days when you don't want to sit and like take out all of your supplies, or you're traveling and you're on the road, you have a canvas on your iPad and in your pocket. If any of you use Procreate Pocket, you can do a lot of those same a lot of the same features that are on Procreate on the iPad, you can do inside of Procreate Pocket on your phone, which is also really a lot of fun. Inspiration sketchbook workshop. And so I wanted to kind of start there, because that's kind of the foundation of what you're going to build inside of this course. So we're going to do a lot of different exercises and creative prompts that will help you start to gather inspiration for your next project, or it could be a project that you're working on currently. So each week you're going to kind of build up in all the different exercises. You're going to build out this inspiration sketchbook that you can either create a digital PDF of, or you could actually get printed if you wanted to. We're going to focus on mixed media and Procreate, mainly Procreate. We're also going to talk about Note Shelf and a couple of other apps that I use throughout like my creative process, and for capturing ideas and for drawing. I treat my digital canvas kind of like when I am working in the studio painting, where there's a lot going on. Like I'll have 5 different canvases I might be working on at once, and we'll talk a little bit about that and how you can kind of keep fresh and really focus on just experimenting and playing, and letting Procreate be one of those places that you do, because you really can't make a mistake in Procreate. I mean, you can always delete things, you can always cut and paste things. So there's so much that you can accomplish in Procreate if you treat it like it is a tool for you to experiment, because really that's all it is. It's once you learn all of the different aspects and the things that you can do in it. And I can tell you that I even don't use half of what's in Procreate. So this is not like a Procreate class where you're going to learn about every single thing in there. I'm going to show you how I use it. And and you don't need to know everything single thing in a program. I just want to set the expectation that, you know, it's not, I'm not teaching like every single button in Procreate and what it does. I'm going to show you the key things that I think that are helpful if you want to use it to paint, sketch, draw, create a pattern, and also collage and incorporate your mixed media work and your style into it. You'll be creating your own inspiration sketchbook, and I'll be talking you through a bunch of different prompts. And really, by the end of it, what my goal is for you to have an idea of what it is that you want to be working on for the next 7 weeks. So at the end of 7 weeks, you have something that you can either print, some of you might even want to sell it, but something in Procreate where you have the, you know, good foundation for your project. Some of you might complete a project, you know, completely. So this could be creating just the inspiration sketchbook could be your final project. Some of you might want to create a brush set as your final project and sell it. Some of you may want to create pages for a book. So there's lots of different things that you can do for your project. So I want you to focus on whatever it is that you want to do. And I'll show you tools and techniques on how you can get there. And then we're going to do lots of creative play in Procreate. So I divvied up the Procreate sessions into kind of a foundations, a play, which is really showing the different aspects of how I use Procreate, and then kind of more of a Procreate mastery that dives a little bit into freestyle pattern work and also creating pattern brushes. And then we dive into brushes, because there is a lot that you can do with the brush engine. And while I make brushes that are more, I consider them more like mixed media texture brushes and stamps and stencils. You'll get to learn how to create brushes from your mixed media paintings, which are really awesome, and they can create some really great textures. They can make your workflow a lot faster because you're able to take some of your pre-created artwork and then create these beautiful backgrounds in just like 2 seconds with a brush. So we'll dive into the way that I use Procreate to create those brushes. And then we will, let's see, what did I miss? I talked about pattern. And then our final lesson, our final module is all about digital mashups. So collage, which I think is kind of the heart and soul of how I use it, and I love using it for collage. I mean, like almost everything I do in my artwork is collage. So let me transfer to my iPad and share some samples so you can see. Oh, I forgot to mention too, in one of the lessons, I think it's in the essentials, I talk about Procreate file organization. So right now I've left everything kind of a mess, somewhat of a mess in my Procreate, because I want to film a brand new video on how I organize my Procreate files. And I know it's something that I've been asked a lot. In my previous courses, I didn't really focus on that too much. But now, as we've been using Procreate for so long, many of us have hundreds of files inside of Procreate. So we'll talk about file management and different ways that you can back up your Procreate files, just so that you make sure you don't lose your work. And so that's one of the big lessons that we'll dive into too. And like I said, every week we'll have some fun mixed media prompt, where 1 week I think I'm going to do some kind of fun printmaking with the gel plate. And you don't have to have a gel plate. I'm just going to show the things that I have. And 1 week we'll focus on working with drawing sticks and pastels, and things like that. So you can kind of bring in different types of artworks to create brushes, to create patterns for or to create stamps for your collages. Like, so we're going to do lots of different things. 1 week we'll work on watercolor. So I think it'll be fun. And I'll talk a little bit too about how I approach using the digital canvas, because sometimes it is to gather inspiration and to create this like foundation work um for my paint collections, for a body of work. And then sometimes it is I will sketch and kind of just scribble quickly in there just an idea of what it is that I want to paint. And then I go from the iPad to paint. Sometimes I go from painting to the iPad. So I'll talk about both of those two different types of workflows. So it's a lot that we're going to cover. Okay, let's see. I want to go back to the iPad. So I have a couple of things I'll share on the iPad. So let's go back in time for a minute, and I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom. And let's see if this, I think this might have been one of the very first pieces. Let's go to the canvas and check out. Let's see. This was January 28th, 2013. So this, I don't even know if it has layers. Probably not, because oh yeah, it does. So um, this was one of the this had to be, I guess, the very first canvas that I did. Let me see. Yeah, because everything else, unless I moved things around, let's see with this girl. She was canvas January 28th, 2013. So maybe you're all around the same time. I can't remember. But yeah, this is some of the early work that I did inside of Procreate. So a lot of my faces, this is, if you look on here, all the different layers in here. So right here is there's a photograph by that's a photograph of Dahlia's, probably at a garden. But I created all the different layers with some of my brushes and more photographs. And we're gonna dive into collage throughout, but our last module is really about collage. So this is, I just wanted to show you some of the possibilities. Like this is way, way, way a long time ago. It's so funny to see. So on there you can see the face. One of my girly glam faces. That was one of my trademark faces back in the day. The one-eyed girl. So that's some of the early work that I did in Procreate way, way back in the day. This was probably one of the first graffiti stamps that I designed, and I actually did the writing, I think, in that first digital canvas class. I also taught paper 53. I think the writing in this is all done in paper 53, but then I turned it into a brush here in Procreate. So you'll see like a lot of things that I do are these random starts to things, and then I just don't do anything else. So, which is totally okay. It's kind of how I work in my sketchbook, in my physical sketchbooks. This was a piece that I did I'll show you the video of it. Oh, I don't want to export it. Showing more like how you can create those backgrounds and then build florals on top, because that's a lot of the work that I do. I paint these kind of freestyle florals. So this canvas was done back in, let's see, that was 2016. And then I started to do these fun cutouts, which we're going to talk about in our brush lesson, where I've taken and basically created some really fun collage pieces from mixed media paintings. So some of this might be familiar to you all if you were in the previous digital canvas classes. There is a lot of work that I love doing with these kind of graffiti-ish backgrounds, where I want to show you. Where is that? Oh, here. These graffiti bouquets. So underneath these, all the layers, let's hide everything. We'll start and show you. Okay, let's start with one. So we'll definitely talk about creating like all of these textured backgrounds, and then how you can build upon those to draw and to paint different things, whether your subject matter is florals and or if it's something else. It's totally up to you. I'm looking for this was one of the projects in, those of you who are in digitalCANVAS 3, was one of these art journal pages. We're going to create some new pages, but this particular technique was showing how to cut and paste out of photographs that you take, and then layering it with your mixed media paintings, and also creating stamps from your motifs or line work. And then we'll dive into some fun pattern stuff. I wanted to show you just a few actual samples of things. So this, let me find my little journal. I was playing with my new water media drawing sticks. So they're so much fun. These are the new collection. If you are part of the Tracy Bautista Color, I'll be sharing more about these soon. But I took these pages here and turn them into brushes, and then turn that into a pattern. So both of these turned into brushes, but this set right here, I turned into this set of patterns and brushes inside of Procreate. So inside of here, let's go back and switch so you can see the iPad, which is a little cleaner when I do it this way. You can see here, those are the original sketches, and then I turned them into a few different patterns. There's more. Here's another set of those. So here are those same pieces, and then I created some fun collage sheets out of them. So this is one of the collage sheets. So that's a nice thing, like, right, I can create this right inside Procreate, and then I just send it to the printer, and I have this awesome collage sheet that I can then use inside my sketchbook if I wanted to. Or a lot of times what I do is I create different collage sheets for each of my paint collections, and then some of those get put inside of the orders as little freebies. So there's so many different ways. This might look familiar to some of you. These were my kaleidoscope stencil collection. So that collection was designed back in 2019, and then I did all of the designs here in Procreate, and then I re-released them with Stencil Girl last year. So you can see how you can actually design product right inside of the in the iPad. And so that was that stencil collection. I've also designed stamps and stencils. So some of you have these sets. All of these were designed in Procreate. This white background might be helpful. So all of these I drew inside of Procreate, and then I had the stamp set created. were created from a brush that I designed. So I actually designed a brush that had like these kind of jagged edges, and then I used that to draw with. So you can design something more intricate like that, or you can design something more simple, like my paint and swatch stamps. And so I have paint and swatch stamp or paint and swatch printable cards that I designed, and I have created a paint and swatch digital brush kit. So I just want to show you that, there's like so much that you can do. I did Instagram story templates before, really simple. Like I could import this, export it, and then import it into my phone, and then take that and add pictures to it in Instagram. So if you're familiar with Instagram stories, that's something that you can do right inside there. Here's some of my paint and swatch templates. And we'll dive into doing some fun color palettes. So I love taking my photographs and creating color palettes. It's a great way to create a quick and easy color palette that I can then use for a project. So we'll dive into the various ways that you can create color palettes right inside of Procreate. And this was a graphic for one of my courses. So I also created graphics. This was a graphic for Instagram stories. All of the layers, I think, are on there. But you can see, oops, lots of ways. This graphic back here was actually created, they're painted, but then I created the overlays right here inside Procreate. So you'll learn how to work with filters, and a lot of that work a lot of the work that I bring in here, if it's just for printing, it is going to, like, taking a photograph is perfectly fine. Like, you don't even need to scan it. But if it's something that is going to be done with another company, then you may want to scan your artwork in. But for what we're going to do, most of what we're going to do, just taking a photograph with your iPad is perfectly fine. I also love taking notes, so can't really read them, but it's so fun to be able to have these kinds of colorful notes. So it's a great way to capture your ideas, and you can do that right in Procreate. So one of the downsides to Procreate, though, is like you can't make a flippable journal, right? Like it would be nice to be able to put all these into one canvas, but inside Procreate you can't. And so that's why I use Note Shelf, and we'll dive into Note Shelf in our inspiration sketchbook retreat or our course, the bonus workshop, and I'll share more into Note Shelf then. But here's another sample of a digital collage / inspiration board. I created this inside of, what class was that? Maybe it was Procreate Pattern? I can't remember. But it has different elements in there where I showed how to add in your photos and then actually cut apart a photo to turn it into a motif, and then create a brush out of a photo. So that tree right there, that's actually a paintbrush that I created inside of Procreate. And then from that, you pull a color palette. So much possibility. That's the one thing I love about Procreate. I am designing a lot of the pages for my new book inside of Procreate. So there's a lot of like heavily layered. I definitely need to change the type on here, but lots of fun layers. This is one of the chapter. This is like an audition for the chapter covers for the new book. Let's see. Is there anything else fun in here? Mind maps. And this was just like 20 of my favorite things. I actually designed a PDF for my book journey class in here, um, adding in photos and info. I definitely like you. I wouldn't design my book in here just because text formatting in here is actually kind of, it's not meant to be creating PDFs so much. I mean, you can, but it's better to use, if it's one page like this, it's fine. But if I'm designing a whole book, I'll use InDesign to actually lay out. So I'll import a lot of the graphics in there. And then this was a photograph of a collage that I did on a piece of cardboard, but then I layered on a couple of different pieces on there. So there was lettering that I had found and I turned it into a stencil. And it was lettering from, I think, just a picture that I took of the lettering. So much, so much, so much that you can do inside here. And then we'll go, if you were in Procreate pattern, you probably saw some of this pattern work and how I create these intricate patterns with templates. So we'll touch on patterns in one of the weeks. And then we'll do some fun mixed media work. This is one of the tutorials that's inside the new class, but this is just playing with brushes and mark making and color palettes. And I talked about my testimonials. So this was I created the testimonials graphics inside there. But you know, you can create really simple collage papers. This I created out of a cement texture, and that's why I named it, because I wanted to remember what I created out of it. It was a picture I took of the cement, and then I just created a bunch of crazy layers with some of these new adjustment layers. So I think it has like it has glitch in there. There's some really fun things you can do to create backgrounds. And then these were collage sheets that I ended up putting inside some of the orders. So it's a fun way to really be able to leverage your work and use it to create collage. It's one of my favorite things. Okay, so I think that's enough of a tour. I think that's everything that I wanted to kind of touch on, just to show you. Here's some mixed media. So this is an original from one of my sketchbooks, and then I took that and turned it into a digital brush, and that piece was also, then you can see kind of hints of it in the background because I wanted a little texture in the background of that canvas. So that was the brush that I created from that drawing. So if you think about how you can kind of wrap your head around like how you can leverage your work, Procreate becomes this like amazing tool because you can create so many different things, you know, from not only like original patterns, like this was just a bunch of scribbles inside Procreate, but I created a repeat pattern from those scribbles. So if I look here, let's see, here are the original, I think, let's see, what's this? Yeah, those are some of the scribbles back there. Let's turn them off. And that was one of the other scribbles. And then I took both of those and turned those into the pattern. So those, as simple as that, where it's like really, really simple marks, but you can create some really cool backgrounds, which is awesome. And there you can see that one, and just playing with different colorways there. I kind of like that one a little better. Let's see. Let me open up Note Shelf really quick. So those, you'll see that repeated in here. That little leaf that I showed you earlier. So this, I printed it on Spoonflower, but I did it in this panel where this is definitely not in repeat, but I just wanted to have all of the different collage papers that I had, like all the different motifs and papers that I had created, all on one fabric, just to see how they printed on this particular, this is lightweight cotton twill. So in my sketch pattern print class, we go over how to do that, where you create fabrics. But like this piece, this was drawn with the 6B pencil inside of Procreate, and I just turned it into a pattern. And then these are just printouts of some of the books pages that I've been working on. So layering, if you watch the video on the course info page, I showed how I talked about the process of making these and how I collaged together different photos and pieces of artwork to create these kind of visual collage stories that'll be backgrounds for some of the pages inside my book. So we'll dive in more. Let me just show you one more thing inside of our inspiration sketchbook, but how to use Note Shelf. And I use it a few different ways, where I take notes of my collections. Sometimes it is, let's see, I don't know what's on here. Sometimes it's just random things that I find, images and notes. So we'll dive more into using Note Shelf and how you can use it to gather inspiration for your next projects. So here was one of my kaleidoscope floral stencils. So you can see I'm really messy in here. I love the engineering paper, but I actually don't write in the lines. But it's a great way to write about what you created inside of Procreate. Because a lot of times, like I said, we work so fast, but if you can take notes at the same time, it's a great way to record your process. So I just thought I would share a little bit about a peek into Note Shelf. Okay, everybody, I'll see you later. Bye. I hope you enjoyed a peek into how I've used Procreate throughout the years and are inspired to dive into the digital canvas. Thanks for watching, and I'd love for you to join me in my new digital canvas 2022 class and accelerator. See the description below to find out more details. Happy creating!